What's up, y'all? It's 2300, and I'm here with On the Radar doing my beat breakdown of Woo Baby. I made that beat. Well, first and foremost, it was co-produced by me and Bugs the Beast, but that beat was made 2020. I ain't gonna lie. The song came out the next year, but it was made 2020. I was in a crib, really. I was in a crib, bored. I was supposed to go out. It was a Saturday night. It was a Saturday night. I was in the crib, just drinking, vibing. I was like, let me just make something that I would probably rap on. And at that time, I was in love with like the club bounce, like the 90 BPM bounce. So I was trying to make something that was inspired by that. And I was interpolating stuff at the time a lot, like a lot of the like hit records from like 2000s, late 90s. So I interpolated a Neo record, So Sick. And from there, I just put a little bit of like a club bounce, like inspired by like the Cali bounce. And honestly, it felt like a vibe. I was gonna make it a YouTube beat at first because I was posting beats on YouTube at the time. So I was gonna make it a YouTube beat. And then I sent it to my manager, Free. Free and LJ, first and foremost, both of my managers, they got me situated. But I sent it to Free. And a year later, or like a few months later, actually, we found out that it was going on Pop Smoke's new project, Faith. And I was excited. I was super excited. I remember the day that I got the call, like, yeah, we got the placement. And then from there, you know, shout out to Free, shout out LJ, shout out Ryan Press too. From there, just skyrocketed, and that was the biggest record so far for my career. As far as my whole career, I've worked with Pop Smoke, Chris Brown, Chloe Bailey, Nems, Queen Naija, Ella May, D-Thing, K-Flock, Chow, R2R Mo. I did the Blood on the Leaves, the TikTok Blood on the Leaves joint that went viral in like 2021. Yeah, it's been a bunch of people so far. A bunch more that I won't say because the placements ain't dropped yet. But definitely, it's been a few heads so far in my very short career. Producer first, easy. I'm a producer first and foremost. Like before anything starts, I got to make the beat. You know what I mean? And I'm still like, as much as I try to do the artist thing, like I really feel the producer vibe. Like I'm always trying to make the beat. I'm always inspired by production more so than artistry. That's a fun question because, like for example, Woo Baby, that was a beat that I was gonna keep for myself. Like I was gonna end up rapping on it, but then I was like, I don't know. Something in me was just like, nah. You could just give that one, you know, you could make that beat like a producer beat to give out for a placement. But it's a really, for me personally, right? Like I realized like the more complex the beat is, the less I want to rap on it. It's like I could just give that to somebody else who could probably do it better. But for me, I like the simple joints, you know what I mean? But it's surprisingly enough, like some of my biggest songs, placement wise, have been my most simple beats. You know what I mean? So it's an interesting dynamic that I have with myself, whether when I'm making a beat, like, I don't know, it's just for like now in 2024, if I'm in the studio and I can't find the pocket or if I can't catch a vibe to it, then I'm gonna give it away. But if I find a vibe to it, then it's mine. I ain't gonna lie. Like at that point, you can have a record. Like I can keep it as a reference. But like, as far as it all really, like nowadays, it depends on if I'm in the studio and if the key not hitting for me, I like my frequencies a certain way. So if the key's not hitting for me as an artist, then I'll give the beat away. As much as it pains me to do so, I'll give it away nonetheless. But before it was just like, I don't know. The more complex, the more inclined I am to give it away to an artist. Definitely all things, the whole Rolling Cloud. I love everything Rolling Cloud. I love Triton. I love Triton. And off the top of my head, what else is there? For Analog Lab is okay. I like Analog Lab. I like top 3. You know it's like a plugin, but it's not really like a plugin. It's more like an effect plugin that I use a lot. Sound shifter from Waves. So like when I'm making a beat, if I don't really got the joint where you like change the whole pitch of the beat, like you trying to figure out what's the nice pitch or the best pitch for the beat, I put sound shifter on the master. And as I'm making the beat, whether it's for myself or anybody else, like I just play with it, go up and down. And it just helps me figure out, like, once you find that nice groove where everything just hits naturally, I'm like, yeah. So Xenology, well, not Xenology, really. The whole Rolling Cloud, Triton, and Sound Shifter are my top 3. My crib is the studio for me. You know what I mean? I make all my beats in the crib. Like, I'll usually know, like, days before, like, I'm about to go to this session, so I dedicate myself to, like, just making sure I have a pack ready. And I treat, it's funny, my manager Free told me, like, treat your beat packs like they're albums. You know what I mean? You sequence them a certain way, make sure they're ordered a certain way. You know what I mean? Like, you usually start with the heavy hitters first, and then, like, you can ease into, like, some smooth, calm vibes. So that's how I treat it. But I spend a lot of time, like, curating my Dropbox link. Like, I'm executive producing the Dropbox link before I even get to the artist. You know what I mean? But as far as actually making a beat, I'm in the crib. You know, everybody has their own, like, niche things, or like their vibes. Like, I usually like red lights, candle lit. Maybe I have some wine with me. You know what I mean? And I just vibe that way. Whatever, I treat myself like I'm the vessel, right? So in a lot of cases, the beat is already done in my head, or the beat's already done, and I'm just the vessel connecting whatever higher power there is, connecting me to the computer, and just putting the right sounds onto the computer. So like the red lights, the chalice, the wine, or whatever alcohol I have, if I have alcohol, because I'm not, drinking every time, but you know what I mean? Sometimes I get up and I dance while I'm making a beat. You know what I mean? I vibe out because it be so vibey. You know what I mean? So that'd be my process mostly. And then I try not to take too long arranging the beat. Because I could just throw you off. And then after that, I listen to it the next day and see if it still hit. Or I listen to it in the V, see if it still hit. As an artist, I do the same thing. And you know what I mean? It's a little longer because I'm coming up with the pocket at the same time as me making the beat. And then I go to the studio and just like record everything that I already thought of prior to getting to the studio. So yeah. I think, well, first and foremost, I can't credit my style without talking about the people that inspire me, like Holy. So a lot of producers that I'm inspired by currently are Tim and Bob, Dark Child, Lil Jon, like that mid 2010s, like Mustard era, you know what I mean? Cardo Got Wings, Cardiac. It's a whole bunch, you know what I mean? But like Pierre was the reason why like I started making beats in the first place, you know what I mean? Like, but their styles, and a lot of those producers have a very simple, you know what I mean? They're very minimal in terms of their sounds, you know what I mean? Like, I don't try to layer too much. I try to keep it as minimal as possible, and just like, it makes it a lot. I like the ambient sounds, the more ambient sounds, and it helps make everything more vibey for me. So I think my style is very minimal, heavily inspired by like, the West Coast bop, a little bit of the Southern bop. I think my favorite BPMs are 95 to 98. And then also like 148 to 153 BPM. So that'd be the best way to like describe where I go with my beats. But I just really like how simple. I won't say simple because that kind of downplays like the people I'm inspired by, but like it's not doing too much. You know what I mean? Leaving room for the artist to like float across the record. Do's and don'ts. Well, don't take anything personal. That's the first thing I'll say as a producer, because you're gonna get parked by an artist at some point. Like, you're gonna ask them to send you beats for you to send them beats, and then they're gonna be like, nah, you know what I mean? And if like, you're gonna get a lot of those before you get the first year. And even if you get the first year, they may not even check the email. They might not even check their phone. Like, you just never know. You know what I mean? So you can't really take that personal in the music business, because it's gonna happen a lot. It happens to the best of us. It happens to everybody, the beginners, the legends. Like, you never know what the artist is going through. So if you take it personally, then you won't thrive. You got to have thick skin to be in the music business. So that's the first thing I'll say. And the second thing I'll say is, just to be a student. You know what I mean? Like, I think we all, as producers, we all should study what came before us so we could determine what comes after. You know what I mean? Certain things repeat, especially in, like, as producers, we set the trend. You know what I mean? The artists are looking for the beats, so we make the beats. We have the canvas, we paint. So look at what happened before, and that can help determine what happens next. Because, like I said, like, trends, like right now is like a lot of people inspired by like the late 90s, early 2000s. Maybe in the next 5 years, the early 2010 beats are gonna come back and be a vibe all over again. The same way clothes are. It's like, it's just being a student, like listening to every project, listening to whoever drops, just to see what is the norm in the business and how you can go above and beyond it, or figure out your lane in that norm. As a producer, like, if you play in the placement game, right? Let's say we play in the placement game. I think an easy way to get more placements is to have references ready. You know what I mean? Whether it's whether you making a reference yourself or you working with a songwriter, because sometimes when you're in the studio with an artist, like, they'll like the beat, they'll think it's vibey, but they don't know how to find the pocket, or like in that moment they might not be thinking as hard to figure out what the vibe is. So sometimes if you come with a reference, even if it's just a top line or just a melody for them to float on, it just makes more room for them to figure out how to get on the beat. And then it's a double whammy. You got songwriter credits and you got producer credits. So it's always good to have references ready. And even if you're shy, or like you feel like you're not musically inclined as an artist, you could always find a songwriter to just come up with a vibe with you, and y'all just figure it out together. And that's a simple, to me, it's a cheat code to get a placement. And you get a lot of publishing, and we all care about publishing. Well, first thing first, make sure in all that you do that you're still having fun. Because at some point it's not going to be fun anymore. It's going to be work, and it's going to be stressful. There's going to be a lot of opinions. And, sometimes you might feel like if there's a large gap in between you not having a placement or your last placement versus now, you might feel like you're not good enough for more. But you got to remember, like, have fun. You don't always got to chase the biggest placements all the time. You can work with the people around you and build them up and make that make sense. You know what I mean? Or like work with people that are buzzing in the city. And also, like, figure out what your swag is. You know what I mean? You can make your swag and then make it to a point where it's undeniable. And people have no choice but to try to meet you, not where you at, but to jump on your bandwagon at some point. So make sure you're having fun, and, figure out where your lane is. You don't have to do the things that everybody's doing. You could skip certain trends and live with that. You know what I mean? So I always recommend that to producers, because you don't want to be the guy that's only known for making tight beats, or like being the best impersonator of other producers. Like, you want to figure out what's your bop, what's your swag, what's your sound. You know what I mean? So, and make sure that all that you do, you're remembering that you have a legacy that you're going to leave behind. Like, your last name, your first name is going to be immortalized once you get that big placement. So, like, make sure whatever beats or whatever placements you get, that they mean something to you, and that, they can showcase what you're capable of. So, yeah. All right, boom. So I made this beat in July 2020. It was co-produced by me and Bugs the Beast. This is when I was going expand crazy. I didn't really have that many sounds, so I was just doing the best I could with the sounds I had. And Woo Baby, I interpolated So Sick by Neo. And that was at a point where I was just trying to sample a lot and just, try to make it a simpler vibe. So Sick is already like a nice, cool, mellow vibe. I was just trying to modernize it. You know what I mean? So this is the melody that I use in Expand. It was a electric piano somewhere. Mind you, I don't know how to play piano, so like I had to, program everything on the piano roll. You know what I mean? And I just felt like that amongst the and in 2022, arcade was crazy. So I was using a lot of arcade vocal chops. That's really what I was using arcade for. And so when I added the arcade chop, I felt like that just carried the weight of the beat. You know what I mean? That's really all I use. And I feel like it just made it very simple for me to just like vibe out from there. So after that, it was just drum time. You know what I mean? And then the drums were like very simple, like California inspired. Very much inspired by like California, like just, especially the hi-hats. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna act like I'm a hi-hat god. It was very simple hi-hats. And then like old 808s, Zaytoven PA 808. It's a very simple beat. Like it doesn't really require too much work, but it's just like the vibe just fit, you know, what I was going for at the time. In a very simple clap. I think what was like hidden but like felt in the beat was this I don't know how to describe it. It is just like an Asian ethnic sound that I put in there. To follow up the melody. So it's like a very simple counter melody that I use, and then from there, you know what I mean? Everything was just a vibe for me, and I had fun, and that's all I was going for. Like I was going for like a simple modern version of something that you could probably hear in a club. And shout out to Free and LJ, they got me right in terms of the placement. Got it with Pop Smoke, Chris Brown. Shout out to Ryan Press as well. And 2021, this became my biggest producer record of all time. So, well, as of right now, and I'm very thankful for it. But yeah, you know, if I could advise anybody, sometimes the beat could be very simple and it could just leave room for the artist to flow on. But yeah, shout out Bugs, shout out Free, LJ. And yeah, this is my beat breakdown for Woo Baby by Pop Smoke and Chris Brown.